Soldiers, what made you decide to enlist? I'd never given the military a second thought. Growing up, the idea of enlisting just wasn't on my radar. I had other things I cared about: school, hanging out with friends, and photography. I loved photography, had a cheap camera I carried everywhere, and spent hours trying to capture the world around me in ways no one else seemed to notice. The idea of uniforms, drills, or deployments didn't appeal to me at all. It was a Saturday afternoon when my friends and I wandered into a recruiter's office on a whim. Honestly, it was just one of those things we did because we were bored, curious, and maybe a little reckless. I walked in with zero intention of signing up. I sat down in a small beige office filled with posters of helicopters, tanks, and soldiers in uniform. The recruiter, a tall guy with an easy smile named Sergeant Daniels, greeted us warmly, asked us why we were there, and we all laughed nervously. The conversation started casually. He asked my friends what they were interested in, and they gave the usual answers: college, sports, a bunch of stuff I couldn't remember. Then he turned to me. "What about you? What do you like doing?" he asked. I shrugged. "Photography," I said, not thinking anything would come of it. His eyes lit up in a way that was hard to ignore. "Photography, huh? You know, we actually have a job for you. Combat photographer. You'd get to travel, document real events, and be right there on the front lines capturing history as it happens." I laughed nervously, thinking he was joking. He wasn't. He started showing me pictures of military photographers in action, their cameras catching everything from training exercises to humanitarian missions. I sat there, stunned, staring at images of people in war zones, natural disaster areas, and moments that felt alive in a way my own photos hadn't yet achieved. Over the next half hour, he explained what being a combat photographer involved: training, deployment cycles, the equipment, the places I could go, and the people I'd meet. He didn't sugarcoat it. He was clear about the dangers, the stress, and the discipline it required. But something about it clicked. Here was a chance to do exactly what I loved, but in a way I never could have imagined: capturing real, raw moments in high-stakes environments. The thought excited me, terrified me, and challenged me all at once. I left the office that day feeling a strange mix of disbelief and curiosity. I went home, told my parents I was considering it, and they were cautiously supportive. They knew I had a passion for photography, and they could see that I was genuinely interested, not being coerced or acting on a dare. I spent the next week researching, talking to veterans online, reading stories from military photographers, and thinking hard about what it would mean for my life. 2 weeks later, I went back to Sergeant Daniels' office alone. My friends had lost interest, but I couldn't stop thinking about it. I signed the papers, enlisted, and within months I was wearing the uniform, starting training, and preparing to be a combat photographer. I remember the first time I held a military-grade camera on the field, feeling the weight of it, and realizing that this was the life I hadn't known I'd wanted until that recruiter had asked me the right question. For the next almost 10 years, I traveled extensively. I documented everything from training exercises to active combat zones, humanitarian missions, and disaster relief. I worked alongside soldiers, medics, and civilians in ways that tested my skills, my patience, and my perspective on the world. Every photograph I took was more than just a picture. It was a story, a memory, a moment frozen in time that mattered to someone somewhere. I never would have expected that a casual visit to a recruiter's office on a bored Saturday afternoon would completely change the trajectory of my life. Looking back, it's surreal to think that I walked in with zero interest and walked out 2 weeks later, heading down a path I would dedicate nearly a decade of my life to. Sergeant Daniels saw something in me that day: my love for photography, my curiosity, and my willingness to take a risk, and pointed me in a direction I never could have imagined. It wasn't an easy path. It was grueling, exhausting, and at times terrifying, but it was also the most rewarding experience of my life. I learned more about people, the world, and myself than I ever could have in a classroom or studio. And every time I look back at the images I captured, I remember the day a recruiter asked me what I liked doing and changed my life forever.